Welcome to Finvisor. Today we will be discussing few key considerations that can be used for analyzing an FMCG business. Now, it is important here to note that we are not a SEBI registered investment advisor, and everything mentioned in this video is for educational purposes only. Examples mentioned are not a buy or sell recommendation and are used for educational purposes only. The content of this presentation. Now, introduction to FMCG. What is FMCG? Okay. What is FMCG? FMCG stands for fast moving consumer goods and includes those goods which are manufactured, distributed, and consumed within a short span of time. Uh, this is a sector which is constantly in demand and thus is an attractive sector for growth. Uh, Major players in FMCG by sectors of India are HUL, Marico, PNG, etc. Now, I would like Janam to kick us off with this presentation.
Thank you, Urvin. So now let's start with what is brand equity. Brand equity is the value that the brand adds to a product. For example, let me ask you a question. What what comes to your mind when I talk about a car? Is it a brand of a car? This is what we call brand equity. Thus, brand equity is really important in a very competitive FMCG sector. So let's move on to it a more deeper sense with actual perspective. With great brand equity, market share increases, and with an increase in market share, we can improve profitability. So this is the importance of brand equity. Now, as we can see over here, the graph of as we can see over here, graph of HUL's market share in the categories it operates in. We can see humongous and it is humongous, and we can clearly say that HUL has done a great work in its building its brand equity. And on the right hand side, we can see the brand equity of the market share of various product categories it operates in. And with dishwashing making up to 60.30% of market share, it clearly is a it clearly by far is the market leader. Thus, we can clearly say HUL is a, HUL has a great brand equity, and it has done a great work in building its brand. So in the next slide, we would see the leading brands of HUL. As you can see, this these logos of brands, it may be familiar with you. Why? Because these are now become the home names of the brands. This is because HUL has done great work in brand equity as and HUL is market leader in 85% of categories it operates in. Thus, as we can see how vital it is to gain brand equity, as FMCG is a very competitive market, and to gain brand equity means more recognition. More recognition means more market share means more profitability. For further process, we also did a small survey, and the survey results are over here. Here also HUL has made to the top in all the categories of the survey. Thus, we can say HUL is the leader in various product category. Now, as we have talked about my brand equity, now let's move on to next slide. Why launching new products and growing them is important.
Introduction of new products is very important for a FMCG company, and growing them is also very important. Now let's move on to next slide and get to know why it is important and why the growth of it is important. New launches help the FMCG company to increase its visibility over new segments and increase the opportunity to gain market share in the already existing categories. And but along with new launches, one should also try, are these brands growing or not? Why? because if they are not going, they are probably a waste of money, and and they are becoming dead brands. So one should always check for the new launches and the growth of these launches. Now, from in the next slide, we will be looking how HUL has done it over the years. As you can see in this slide, these are the 19 brands that HUL has launched in the last 10 years. These are the brands you may be knowing, as these are some of these brands have grown to a massive level in current time. For example, HUL acquired Boost and Horlicks in 2018, which now are by far the market leaders in the HFD category, health, food, and drinks category. They currently have 55% of market share. Isn't it great? And Intulekha has grown 6 times in the last 5 years and is growing currently and is one of the major brands in haircare category. And there are various other examples of these new products, of launches of new products by HUL, and how they are and their growth story. So if if HUL if FMCG companies launching new products and growing them, it is probably that it is growing, because if we enter into new category, we increase the scope of our marketing scope of our operations, increase the scope of our operation, which would majorly lead to increasing profitability as we are able to grow these brands. Now let's move on to the next slide, discussing about what what a portfolio of product should look like, and how can these products be made accessible. Moving on to this slide, portfolio and accessibility. A company usually wishes for a portfolio that has different various types of product that helps to cater different types of customers over time. This can be done uh, by providing products having differently are that are differently priced but are in single product category. This has to increase the scope of catering to large number of customers with different needs and capabilities to pay for a product. For example, as you can see in this picture, so these are three different types of surf excel matic. This one is for top load machine. This is for front load machine, and this is a 3-in-1 pack. And the least price top load matic, a little more, 1.2 times more is front load, and the 2 times is this a 3-in-1 packet. And these all three have different capability to cater, and different consumers with different needs use these products accordingly. This is a small basket of products that HUL provides. And in the top side we have premium products, and in the bottom side we have the mass products. As we can see, there are various products in the single category but are differently priced. Some are premium, like Surf Excel. Some are mass, like Wheat. Premium products helps to increase the pricing power of a company, as as premium products are usually have a high pricing power, as we can price more to customers and we can produce it at a lower cost. Whereas mass product mass products are also really important, as majority of Indians today are in the middle class category, and they want mass products, as mass products are very suitable for them. Thus, introducing mass products is really important, because this helps company to cater to large segment of people. Now, as we had talked about what a product portfolio of an FMCG company should look like. Now let's move to next slide, explaining how to make product accessible. Is the product accessible? We as people are very different in various aspects, and due to these various differences, we need different sizes of different SKUs to cater to our various differences. As we can see in this chart, different size SKUs enable accessibility of product. It helps in targeting different consumer needs. For example, a single person would be needing a smaller pack of product, rather in contrast, a family would be needing family pack. Thus, having different size of SKU help to cater both a single person and a family. It also improves affordability. As people, we have different income levels. For a low income level person, small SKUs are usually more affordable, as they can't buy family pack all at once due to the constraint in their budget. It also increases the convenience, as people, we always want products that are convenient to carry. For example, when we are going for a short trip, we don't take family packs of products. We need smaller packs. Thus, for a short trip, we need smaller packs of products. Thus, having different SKUs help in increasing the convenience required at different times and different situations. Now, as we have talked about how to make product accessible, we now would check what sh- we now would check what should be the concentration in a product portfolio. It is usually recommended to have a balanced concentration in product portfolio. Having a high concentration of a product or product category in portfolio may lead to high risk, as a sudden change in the exchange may impact the overall revenue of the company. Whereas having a balanced portfolio has low risk, and due to diversified portfolio and low dependence on a single product, a change may not affect its overall revenue. Thus, having a balanced portfolio is really important. Now, let's see what happened in HUL's case. As you can see in the chart, over the years, HUL's, HUL's concentration from beauty and personal care has been reduced, and the overall portfolio has now become more concentrated. Now, as we have talked about various points regarding how brand equity, product portfolio, and concentration should look like, I would like to invite Sanyam Shah to proceed further.
Thank you, Jainam, for inviting. I will start with the further points. First is distributors and outlets. Distributors are the agents or the people that connect the FMCG companies with the wholesaler and retailers. And outlets are basically the primary point of contact between the final consumers and the FMCG products that they consume. In FMCG companies, it is important that the distributors and outlets increase over a period of time, because this increase in distributors helps companies to reach a wider customer base and penetrate new markets, because FMCG companies can penetrate new markets by partnering with distributors that have a strong presence in local areas. This helps them reaching a territory that has not yet been reached by other companies, and helps company to gain a competitive advantage over other companies. Distributors also sometimes helps FMCG companies to increase their brand awareness by promoting the brands of that companies, or promoting the products of some brands that are under the under the main company. This can be like distributors can ensure in-store availability, in-store visibility, or in-store demonstrations for products of different brands that the companies caters. For checking distributors and outlets over time, we have to primarily check, is the number of distributors and outlets increasing over time? Because, and it is also important that outlets catered by each distributor on an average also increases, because a mere increase in distributors is uh, is of no use if the number of outlets is not increasing. Because like in distribute if the distributors increase and the outlets don't increase,
It basically means that the same number of outlets are now catered by different distributors. Like in HUL, we can see in 2018, the number of outlets per distributors was 2200, and in 2021 it was 1700. So it has reduced over a period of 3 years. This is not a green flag, or it can be considered a red flag, because in other FMCG companies, the number of outlets per distributor is increasing. In HUL, it decreased because here we can see that outlets have been same 80 million over the period of 3 years, but the distributors catering those outlets have increased from 3500 to 4500. This is the reason for decrease in distributors per outlet. So another metric that can be used for tracking distribution of an company is the revenue per distributor. Revenue per distributor is important because it portrays the revenue earned by each distributor, because revenue earned by each distributor over a period of years. Here in HUL, we can see that in 2020, the revenue earned by each distributor was 9 crore, which has increased to 15 crores in 2022. This can be because reasons like distributor may have increased the outlets it caters, or because distributors has increased the order value that it generates from each outlet. These both reasons can lead to increase in revenue per distributor. After checking on the distributor side, now we will move on to the rural penetration. Rural penetration basically is important for FMCG companies because majority of the rural Indian population resides in rural areas, and it becomes important to cater to this population if FMCG companies want to increase their market share. The rural penetrating rural areas has its own problems and strategies. Problems include like poor infrastructure, lower levels of literacy rate, and rural areas because of improper ways of transportation and not so developed ways of transportation. The distribution channel has to be very efficient to cater to the rural population, and these problems need to be solved by targeted marketing and distribution strategies. One of the examples of targeted marketing strategies used for catering the rural population used by HUL is Project Shakti. Project Shakti was a movement, or was basically a corporate social responsibility that the FMCG companies do, and it was started in 2001, where the HUL started encouraging rural women to become entrepreneurs. So they trained unemployed rural women to train them the basics of businesses and how the distribution works. And then they started making them aware of the HUL products, HUL brands, and so this has helped over time. So the number of rural women uh, that Project Shakti caters have increased over a period of time, which has also helped HUL to gain a market share in rural areas, because this Project Shakti women, who are basically known as Shakti Amas, they sell the HUL, they are the distributors of in this growing world, in this world where there is increasing usage of e-commerce for buying the products and social media activity. It becomes important for FMCG companies to cater to this market, or to cater to these points as well. It is important so that it is important for FMCG companies to establish specialized distribution network to sell their products online, and to have a good brand presence, or to have a increased brand presence in the customer mind. That can be done through the increased social media presence of the company. Here, as we can see that in HUL has started its own e-commerce platform, which is known as Shikhar. Shikhar is a platform where retailers can anytime buy the products that they want to. As we can see that in HUL, as you can see in HUL's online presence, HUL has started its own e-commerce platform known as Shikhar. Shikhar is an app that is available on Play Store and App Store that is specially designed for HUL retailers to buy products anytime wherever they want. And these five digital brands, or we say them digital first brands, which means that these brands uses the newer marketing approach like social media marketing instead of the traditional marketing approach that was used like marketing or advertising done in newspapers or magazines or hoardings. These brands rather gives importance to the social media marketing aspect, and we can see that in 2012 the total demand or the total percentage of HUL in the online sales for FMCG products was 0%. But fast forward 10 years, it is now 25%. HUL now caters to more than 25% of the demand on online demand for products related to FMCG companies. So this is a great increase in a period of 10 years. And now next we can see, as we talked about the brand presence in the customer's mind, it is important that FMCG companies have brands that are active on social media. So like in HUL we can see that HUL has nearly 10 brands, more than 10 brands that are verified on Instagram, which with each brand having more than 15,000 followers. Some of them are like Lakme. Lakme is a verified, is a makeup brand or a beauty or a personal or a beauty brand of HUL that has more than 2 million followers, with other companies, with other brands like Glow and Lovely, Lipton, Vaseline and Lux. So HUL, so we can suggest, so it suggests that HUL has done very well on the online presence or social media presence aspect. So as we talked about the online presence or the social media presence of brands of FMCG companies is important to is important to capture mind share of the consumers. We can see that HUL, some of the HUL brands like Lakme India, Glow and Lovely, Lux India, Lipton, which are verified on Instagram and have good amount of followers. Other than this, in total, there are more than 10 brands of HUL that are verified on Instagram. So this suggests that HUL has been doing good on capturing the mind share of the consumers on social media. So
Thank you, Sayam, for inviting me. Now I would like to explain the further topics. So now we will see what is a gross margin and what the gross margin is used for. So I would like to go on the next slide. The gross profit margin is also known as GPM, and it is used for benchmarking against peer, understanding trends, and the strength of the business. So, number first point is benchmarking against peer. So, the gross profit margin is used by investors to assess how the gross margin is compared to its peers. Then, it is also used to understand the strength of business compared to industry average. And now I would like to explain you the gross profit and gross profit margin. So for this, I would like to share my Excel sheet. So here I have taken figures of HUL from HUL annual report, and uh, here it is revenue of top line. It is 52,000 446 crore, and in COGS it include three items: cost of material consumed, purchase of stock in trade, and a change in inventories of finished good, work in progress, and stock in trade. These combined three line items form the part of COGS. COGS in simple means what a company is incurring cost on its product So the gross profit is calculated by deducting COGS from its revenue. That is revenue minus COGS. And here I have calculated by deducting it from revenue. Now, gross profit margin is calculated. Gross profit margin is calculated by dividing it with top line revenue. Now, I would like to show you the interpretation of gross profit and margin. So here we have taken HUL and Dabur gross profit and its margin. So the HUL gross margin is between 50 to 51% throughout years, and while the Dabur's gross profit is 51. So here the gross margin is reducing in Dabur, and actual gross margin is reducing along with increase in revenue. This suggests that company is facing cost pressure or inability to pass cost on consumer. Now I would like to explain further topics. Volume growth. So volume growth, revenue is calculated by price into quantity. So volume growth drives the revenues and market success. Volume drives the revenues and market success. Because of volume growth, the revenue and top line of companies tend to increase. And the second is sustained volume growth requires a customer centric approach. Centric approach means companies take whatever decision is based on consumer preference. Company collect the consumer preference data through surveys and many tests, and using that company decide what to do. Then it create strategies for achieving volume growth. So volume growth can be done by product innovation and a marketing campaign. How the company is innovating its innovation, a product innovation, and how much the company is doing the marketing campaign. For an example, in HUL, the Daag Achhe Hai is awesome marketing campaign by HUL. Then the fourth point is increasing sales volume lead to economies of scale. Then to understand this point, I would like to explain the economies of scale using my Excel sheet. So here we are taking a dummy example of two entity A and entity B. So suppose if the fixed cost of entity A is 10,000 and entity B is also 10,000, but entity A is producing quantity of 100 and B is producing 1,000 quantity, and variable cost is also same, 10 and 10. And so the total cost of entity A is fixed cost plus quantity into variable cost. I have calculated uh, same as A. Then, so the total cost per unit of entity A is 110, which means to produce one product, entity A incurs cost of 110, while the B incurs the cost of rupees 20. It is because of economies of scale. That is, B has with increase in quantity, B is able to produce it cheap. Now, I would like to share my slide to explain further. So here I have taken example of HUL volume growth. So in 2019, the the volume growth of HUL is 11%, while the revenue growth is 10%. This is because of volume growth that HUL has made volume growth in 2019. It is a green flag that a business has constant increase in a volume growth with increase in revenue. Um, Now I would like to call Parth to explain further topics.
Thank you, Shahid, for giving me the opportunity to speak further. So now, what is stock rotation speed? Stock rotation speed is means how company quickly sell their inventory. Higher the stock rotation speed means uh, company sell its inventory quickly, and lower the stock rotation speed means company is facing the problem in selling. So let's move further. So now it comes in now comes in mind why to track the stock rotation speed. So by tracking the stock rotation speed, we can get the idea about the companies. But we can get idea about how efficient company in managing in inventory. And second is their cost control. Third is their demand forecast. And now how to track it. Now there are two ways to track it. First, the inventory turnover ratio, and second is days of inventory. Now let's understand what is inventory turnover ratio. Inventory turnover ratio means in the over the period of time, how many times company have sold their inventory. Higher the inventory turnover, it is better. The formula for inventory turnover ratio is revenue divided by average inventory. Now let's talk about inventory days. What is inventory days? Inventory days means average number of days company take to sell its inventory. Lower the inventory days is better. Formula for the inventory days means is 365 days into average inventory divided by revenue. Now let's look at the chart of HUL and the Dabur. So in this chart, as we can see, HUL data days is decreasing over the period. See, it is decreasing over the period, and it is below the industry average, which concludes that it is managing its inventory efficiently. While looking at Dabur's inventory days it's increasing over the periods, and it is above the industry average. Means there is something problem with the Dabur's in selling the product. While looking at the inventory turnover, we can see that the actual inventory turnover is increasing over the period, uh, and it is above the industry average also. As compared to HUL, Dabur performance is poor, which concludes that Dabur is not efficiently managing its inventory and not focusing on their inventory management. So we can conclude that it is a green flag for the company if they have a lower inventory days and the higher inventory turnover. So let's now look at the data days. Now, first of all, what is data days? Data days means it is a measure which shows that how much the days it takes for company to collect its cash. Data days is also known as trade receivable days or account receivable days. So formula for data days is 365 into average account receivable by revenue. So now let's consider if a company have if in a year if a company have a 10 crore trade receivable and the revenue is 200 crore. So If we calculate it data days, it will come around 18 days something. So it takes 18 days for the company to collect it cash. Now, why to track it? It show by tracking the data days, it shows is company efficient in collecting its cashes. Longer the data days, it is a longer the data days, it is a problem for company because uh, it makes difficult for the company to manage it cash flow. Shorter the data days means shorter the data days means company is efficient in collecting their cash. In FMCG industries, wholesaler or retailer negotiate for the long-term payments because they want to increase their own cash flow. So this is a problematic for the company because they can face the problem of cash flow and which can impact their financial health. Now, why to track it? By tracking the data days, we can know how companies efficiently collecting their cashes. Higher the data days means company has a low cash means uh, their cash flow is not so strong, which will impact their financial health. And lower the data days means companies efficiently collecting their cash and their cash collecting and their collection practices are good, which will reduce their risk of bad debt. Now, if we go further, there is a two company I have taken, HUL and Dabur. In case of HUL, it has a data days lower than the industry average, which indicates that HUL has efficient uh, credit collection period. Whereas, and if we see in Dabur, their industry average, the industry average is low, but the data days is high, which shows that their credit collection period is uh, not good. Now let's look at the cash conversion. Cash conversion means it is a process of how company convert its sales and profit into cash. It is a measure with how company converting its resources such as account receivable and inventory. Now there is also called a cash conversion days, which means average number of days company takes to convert its cash. Now let's look at its importance. Company First importance of tracking the cash conversion days is working capital management. Uh, by looking at the company's cash conversion days, we can conclude that how company is efficient in managing its working capital. Second is investment decision. By tracking the cash conversion, we can conclude that how company is performing in its liquidity, and we can also get an idea about how company is meeting their short-term obligations such as paying the bills and serving the debts. Benchmarking means by tracking the working capital of two companies, and company which have a lower cash conversion days can be a greater one. Now let's look how to calculate the working capital days. Working capital days calculated by days of inventory outstanding plus days of to supplier minus days of payable minus advance received from consumer. So here we can see that actual has a negative working capital over the years. Now the reason for having a negative working capital means companies days of payable is way higher than combined to its inventory days and the receivable days. Now for further explanation, I would like to invite Urvin.
Thank you, Parth. Now let us have a look at key metrics that contributes to revenue generation. First key metrics is revenue. Is revenue against ad expense. What is ad expense? Advertisement and promotional expense includes those expenses that are related to advertisement and marketing, such as advertisement on television, advertisement on radio, sales, public relations expense, sponsorship expense, etc. Important An important metric to track here is revenue divided by ad expense. This gives us revenue earned per rupee of advertisement and promotional expense. This is the graph of HUL's revenue per 1 rupee of advertisement over the years, starting from financial year 2013 to financial year 2022. It can be noted here that it is fairly constant in past years, but is growing in late last years, that are 2020 to 2022. Okay, so next is research and development. Research and development. Research and development is used for various purposes. First is to develop new product. Uh, Company can use market research and consumer insights to identify demand gap in market and use research and development to fill those gaps for catering to those consumers. Next is existing product development. Our research and development for existing product development is also important to improve profitability of the business while keeping the product affordable for the consumers. And lastly, sustainability. It is always important for the company to focus on sustainability over one-time profitability. Uh, if research and development for sustainability would also help improve company's image over the years. This is graphs of Dabur's R&D expense against revenue. Revenue against R&D expense compared to Godrej's. Godrej and Dabur both have been increasing their revenue. Both have been increasing their research and development expense over the years. Uh, it is important to track this metrics over there, as it in certain cases uh, effects of R&D research and development can be seen in consecutive years instead of the same years. In this presentation, we discussed about various checkpoints for analyzing brand and products of a company, distributor network, volume and sales, cash conversion, days, and various important expenses such as advertisement expense and research and development expense. However, it is important to note that these are not the only points, and the study can be extended further. You have been a great audience, and please post all your queries in the comment section. Thank you. I would specially like to thank Vedansh Dokania for his contribution to this project. He was unable to join us due to a personal emergency, but however, it would not have been possible without him. Thank you.